Well, welcome all of you. Let me just begin our time by asking God, Lord, would you bless this time we're sharing together? We want to serve you well, and this is one way that we can do that. Help us to be wise as we seek to help teams develop, but are limited in how we can do it one-on-one. And so guide and direct us there. We ask in Jesus' name, amen. I wanted to just tell you, so last week we started by looking at a team build just using Zoom. This week we're going to look at another software package. It's called Miro, M-I-R-O, and we're still learning this. It has a free software package you can use, although you can pay, of course, and have lots more features. But we want to show you at least some of the features of Miro today. And Steve is going to show us how to do that, or he's going to walk us through that. And so I want to introduce to you at this point in time, Steve Buszowski. And thank you so much, Steve, for being willing to walk with us through this process. Take it away. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Miro, as Ken had mentioned, is a free collaboration tool that you can go at. If you log into Miro.com, you'll have to log in and set up an account, and to set up the free account. And there are, as Ken said, opportunities to pay on a monthly basis as well. But I'm just going to show you the free version today. I'm going to share my screen and give you a little bit of background on what it is. So now you should be able to see a screen that says Birkman Interests. And if I shrink this, you'll be able to see all of the items that I've already downloaded into Miro itself. So what I've got there is the Birkman map, the interest squares that I have created. And on the bottom there, you can also see the components that I've downloaded. These are all PDFs. And what I've done is I've created what's called frames for the map as well as the interest. I haven't created frames for these as yet for the components. And the reason why you create frames is so that if you open the frame box, you can go directly to each of your frames that you've created. And what I've also done is I've got three other participants today. I've got Larry, Dee Dee, and Neil. And what we're going to do today is, whoops, if I can get on here. And I'm going to try to expand this if I can. And move it around so whoops, so that. Not moving around like I wanted to. If I go down to here. It's not moving around the way I want, so I'll just use my arrow screens here. And try to enlarge this just a little bit more so that it's a little bigger on the screen. And what this tool can allow you to do is you have your participants log into Miro, and then they can participate just like you do on a floor exercise. So we're going to go through two of the exercises that you usually do for floor exercises for teams. One is on the Birkman map, and the other one will be on the interest, where typically you would put stickies on a whiteboard or wherever, but today we're going to use Miro. So I've got three participants, Dee Dee, Larry, and Neil. And Larry What I will ask each of them to do is move their diamond to their location on the Birkman map. So if Dee Dee, Larry, and Neil, if you wouldn't mind doing that. So this is typically what you would do on a floor exercise, is ask the participant to go stand where their diamond would be. And the other way to do it, hi Dee Dee, the other way to do it is if they're not able to move it around, and Larry, you may have to unmute yourself here. Just let me know where you want me to put this.
Okay, there you are. Okay, so you want me to, yeah, there you go. Right there, about right in the center. Just a little higher up. And yeah, I'm more toward the red than Neil. There it is. Good.
Okay. And how about Dee Dee? Where are you normally, Dee Dee?
I'm in the red square, a little bit closer to the green, sort of in, come on down, no, closer to the middle. A little bit further down, about right there.
Oh, you're really toward the middle.
Yes.
And in my case, if I were a participant, I would also put mine in where my diamond would be as well. So typically when you're doing a team exercise, you would have people stand and then you would talk about each of the items or even each of the participants and just give a brief background on their particular color and what they have on their Birkman report. In this case, I'm going to ask the participants, based upon your color, where you are, and in the situation we're in with this COVID-19, how do you use your usual style? And again, your usual style is what people see when you are at your best. So Larry, using your usual style, how do you use that style during this COVID-19 outbreak?
Oh yeah, so I'm looking at my description there that says the green is communicative.
Yeah.
Talking, yeah, I find myself, well, yesterday I was in 5 Zoom calls and
Okay.
I was helping to moderate 3 of those 5. And in the other 2 that I was participating in, I found myself, you know, when there is a silence in the dialogue, I guess just right now, I just illustrated that too, didn't I? As soon as if there's a few moments of silence and it seems like other people are trying to get their thoughts together, I speak first and think later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And typically I've seen you in other situations. You are usually the one that is very communicative in a group setting. So in this era where you're having to do a lot of virtual, your usual style is still in that area.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm able
How
to
about Neil?
easily.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to unmute Neil there.
Try again, Neil.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
I'm muted.
how do you use your usual style in this virtual environment?
Well, I have not had as many Zoom meetings as Larry. However, at my household, I've been an organizer of competitions.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the ways we played cornhole yesterday, and we've had basketball games. And yesterday I was also taking pictures of my sons doing jujitsu in the basement. So kind of have organized activities for people.
Yeah, so again, in that green area, you're using your usual style to be very group oriented.
That's correct.
Yeah. And how about Dee Dee? How do you use your usual style during this pandemic?
Okay, it says on my Birkman map that I'm My diamond shows that I'm usually friendly, decisive, and energetic. And it says that I'm socially sensitive, which is a little bit hard in these days, since there's not any, you're not having a lot of social activity. And I haven't had many Zoom calls, one with a class, but I am in charge of that one. So I am sensitive to the kids that I'm working with. But the bottom one says fairly assertive without being domineering. And I laughed when I read that because we do have a lot of household projects going on during these days. And I'm afraid that I might lean more to the domineering, or if you ask my husband. I am this morning, I told him I did not want him to make plans for me. But then later, when I was giving him some instructions of what I wanted him to do while I'm doing this meeting, he just looked at me and grinned and says, "Don't make plans for me." So I'm trying not to be domineering, but yet I am seeing that I'm being fairly assertive in our work at home.
Okay. So being in the red area, you are the let's go type of person. So do you still find that when you're in the virtual environment?
In the situations that I've been in, yes, but I am in charge of the classroom that I have been doing the Zoom with, but that's when I know for sure what my guidelines are. When I'm assertive, when it's defined who is in charge. So when I'm in charge, I can take the lead. When I'm not, then I have the tendency to back off much with our team.
Yeah, and because you're in that light red area and close to the green, do you also find that you still want to be in large groups?
I do, and I'm missing that very much at this point.
Yeah.
Very much.
Okay. And myself, I'm in that blue area, the light blue area, and I'm finding during this time, I'm more the thinker as I usually am. But I also like to be in groups. I find that I'm missing the group and dynamics that I'm used to in when we're out in the world and joining together. So I'm finding that the opportunity to get together with people on Zoom, I find that I still need that and thrive to do that as well and to do group activities. So just to let you know, so this was one activity that we can do using Miro. The other one that we want to show today is using the interest. So I'm just going to go down here in my area here. I'm just going to close that. And again, this is a frame that I've created. And I'm just going to make this a little larger so people can see. What I've done is I created this Birkman interest diagram, if you want to call it that. I created it in Word using a table and the table format. And I created this. And this is typically what we would do on a wall setting, where we would put the white paper up and then break it into the 10 categories. And what I've also done is I've created sticky notes for individuals on the bottom here. I've created 4 of them. And the reason why I created 4, I'm going to be asking each individual to put in their top 2 into the areas where their interests are. And the third one, I would like you to put your lowest score from your interest. And the reason why I've got the 4th one there is so that we can identify with each individual what their color is, so we can identify where Larry, Neil, and Dee Dee are on that map. So if each of you could use your appropriate color, you don't need to put your score in, just take the sticky notes and put where your top 2 interests are at this moment. And typically what we would do is take the top interest and then talk about it. And then we would take the bottom, the lowest score, and say, where are we as a team? So also, I'll also put my top ones in as well. Oops. If I can grab mine. Here I am having a difficult time there.
Steve, what kind of pointer are you using to grab your Post-it and move it around?
Well, I'm on an Apple Mac, my wife's Mac, so I'm having a hard time getting used to her touch screen here. But
Yes.
typically within Miro, if you're on an iPad, it's just a touch.
Oh,
and
yeah. Oh, you
move
have
it
to click
around.
on it. Yeah, you have to click
But
on
if you have a mouse, you have to grab it and drag it around.
it. Right.
I'm using a mouse and I'm not having any problem at all grabbing the items.
Yeah, well, on the touch panel on here, I'm trying to get used to it as well. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, so we can see from our team, and let's see here. Looks like somebody grabbed the 2 greens. Who I'm just. So Larry, you're one of your bottom scores. What is your lowest score?
Scientific is my lowest.
Your lowest. So I'm just going to relocate.
That one.
Well, if I can grab this one back.
Yeah, I put my 2, scientific and artistic. Oh, okay, but I took away your key, didn't I?
So if you wouldn't mind moving.
There you go. There's your key right there.
Here, I'm just going to move this back down here.
Oops.
Yeah, this is my fault here. I moved the.
There we go.
There. Okay, so as you can see, as a team, we seem to be spread out a fair bit on the top there on our interests. And as a team, if we were working together, where would we see our strengths then as a team?
Well, we're certainly strong in the green area.
Mm-hmm.
Social services or persuasive.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, individually, your interest areas are what people don't see, but you need in your life to be at your best. So during this time in the pandemic area, based upon your interests, what do you need to do to be at your best? Larry?
Yeah, having opportunities for interaction with people and expression, and I guess that persuasive thing that I'm looking at, being able to encourage people and bring them along. One of the big things I've been working on right now is really promoting people to say this is not a time to be sitting back. It's not a time to be leaning back, I think is how Lencioni has put it. It's time to be leaning in. And there are lots and lots and lots of things that we can be doing. So helping people to get up, get moving, doing things, even though you're doing it from home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how about Dee Dee? What do you need during this time and based upon your interest areas?
My top 2 are so close. Numerical is 93, and I am finding that I'm working a lot with my own personal Excel, and I find that that's almost a therapy for me. But then when I also go to my persuasive, that's a 90, my social services, that's a 92. So that's just one under my numerical. It has helped me as much as teaching a class of 12 seventh graders online is challenging to keep them engaged and do what I would normally do in the class. I find that it is energizing to me. As much as I have somewhat dreaded it when I was preparing, I even told my husband Tuesday after I finished the class that just helped me to be with them. And I guess that goes with that. The activities would be teaching, counseling, and volunteering. And that was very much energizing to me to take that, even though you are herding cats online.
Yeah, especially online.
Yeah, online. Yes.
Yeah. Now, how about Neil? Your top two scores are persuasive and literary. What do you need to do during this time to keep your spirits up? And
well, one of the things that I've done is I've started a workshop for church planting candidates, and I've been working pretty diligently on an interactive pattern that would be useful for group discussions. And I rolled it out this week with one church planting group, and I'm looking forward to doing that with 3 more. So part of my persuasive is both to write the curriculum that we would use on the workshop, which is interactive, and then also contact the people to participate.
Yeah. Okay. So if we were a team of 4, where do you see the gaps that, if you look at both the high scores and the low scores, where do you see the gaps on our team?
Well, clearly we have some gaps in the area of administration, and I'm not sure who that would fall on, but nobody would be satisfied if it fell on me.
Yeah, and if we were a church plant, there obviously are some gaps in there that as a church planting group we would need, and administrative would be definitely one of those areas.
And my administrative is an 84.
Oh,
so if you go to my third one, 92, 93 for numerical, 92 for social services. So I moved that fourth one just to show that administrative is 84. So as a team, if we were working together, I would be able to move somewhat into that role.
Yeah. And another thing I was remembering from last week, Steve, that you talked about the administrative gifts, I think, last week, didn't you?
Yeah, on my spiritual gift side, I'm fairly, well, my number one gift is administration.
So it'd be interesting to look at that and see how that gap might not be coming from our natural interest or our career type interests, but might be coming from our spiritual gifts that would be filling in some of those needs.
Yeah, and my third one is administrative on my interest area. So yeah, I could look at the big picture when it comes down to doing the detail type of work. That's where I tend to not excel at. It's more of the 40,000 foot level, which would help in a church plant. But doing the day-to-day administrative type of work, I would fail at that very, very badly.
Yeah.
So if we look at the bottom scores, Larry, you need someone, your scientific is your low score. And Dee Dee, your outdoor.
I put mine right in the middle because my technical and my outdoor were both a 5.
Okay, terrific. And Neil, numerical is your lowest?
Yes.
Okay. So you would rely on people like Dee Dee or myself on the numerical side if we were in it.
I've always found it helpful to have someone else doing the books and keeping track of the accounting. part of a church plant. However, I actually enjoy looking at the bottom line of the numbers, and especially if we can discuss it with people and establish policy that would help us, let's say, to spend what we have wisely. But
you would just want me to make the report for you and give it to you so you could overlook it.
that's right. That's where it would be most helpful. And I also need someone to say, it looks like we're going in the red over here.
Yeah. And my lowest is on the persuasive side. So I would be looking at Neil and Larry on that aspect if we were in a team environment, because I'm not all that great at trying to persuade people to doing things. I prefer to ask them, but if they don't care to do it, I pray about it and ask that the Lord would encourage them to do the work. So that's what my usual is.
Your usual is what?
Is my usual on the low score is persuasive. So I'll rely on you and Neil to be the persuasive people in our team.
Yeah, and in my low scientific, I don't mind doing research for a specific purpose, but even when I'm doing research, I find myself not wanting to do the quantitative type of analysis. I want to do the more qualitative analysis, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so these are two examples of how you could use Miro in a team environment. Last week, Neil showed how you can use a PDF tool, which was very useful as well. But if you're looking at interactive participation, this is one tool I would suggest. I also like Neil's ideas as the PDF as well, and get people to work in there. Now, I just want to show you one aspect of this. If I'm just going to make this a little smaller. If you were to, the reason why I created frames is so that if I move things around, if I move this around here, if I move this around, if I can here, and again, trying to get used to my wife's iPad or computer here. I'm just going to go back over to this one. You'll notice that the Birkman map is moving with all of the symbols already shown. If you do not make a frame, what will happen is you'll move it around, and in this case, the interested one, I'm moving around and I'm just clicking on the inside of the file that I created. And you'll notice that the sticky notes do not move with it. So if you want to use this tool, it's important that you you want to make sure that you create a frame so whatever you're using moves around. And again, what I've done in this case is I've also put in each of the components. And if I make this one a little larger, you'll be able to see that you can move, if I can do it here. You can use this as a tool to use the components and have the individuals put their items on this the mountain area. So, okay. Okay. So I found it very useful. It took a little time to get used to it, and you get used to it by whatever tool that you're going to work on. I'm used to working on an iPad, so I found it a lot easier to use the touch to move things around and create it. But on this Mac, it seems, for my instance, a little more difficult to utilize. But the tool itself I found very useful for doing collaboration between groups and individuals. Okay. So Ken, I'm going to pass it back to you, and maybe we can answer any questions that might be on the questions on the line there.
Okay. Thank you. If you want to stop sharing your screen, then
I will stop sharing.
good. Thank you very much. So one of the questions that was asked, I think I answered it right, but you created most of the stuff somewhere else and imported it. Like you created it in Word, you created a table, correct?
Yeah, the two items that I created myself was the interest map. I created that in Word and used a table format to create that. The other ones were PDF, which I got from Birkman.
And Birkman also, by the way, has PDFs of all of the symbols, asterisks, diamond, circle, square as well, that we can use to import.
Ken, what we will do is we'll put some of these up on the Grip-Birkman resource page for coaches.
Yeah.
So if coaches do have a login with Grip-Birkman, then it'll be easy to get to that resource page. And if you don't, I suppose they should just contact support at grip-birkman.com to get information about how to log in as a coach.
Correct. Yes.
So we'll put some of these PDFs and JPEGs up on the resource page, so that'll be easy for you to download those, to use those as a handy resource.
Yeah, and from last week when Neil did his demo, the idea was that if people could send their little picture to the individual, it'd be a lot easier to move the picture around of that individual, so you could, rather than having to refer back to the sticky notes, you could see where the individuals were. I thought that was a great idea.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Any other questions that you have? There were several in the chats, but one of the questions that come out, Stephen. So, did you send each of the participants like an email with the link and a specific link to Miro, or how did that work?
Yeah, what I did at the beginning was on the Miro, there's a little button on the top that says share. So what I did was I clicked on that share button and then sent each individual an email from their email address, and they would click on that email that I sent. They would have to create the account on Miro. And then once they got into Miro, they automatically went into my team area.
Okay. Now, it runs in a browser, or is this is Miro a download app?
It's in a browser.
Okay. I think, yeah, good. So you're not asking people to download software onto the computer per se. Okay.
But obviously, when you do set an account, it obviously sets things on your computer, because if you just log out of that tab in your browser and then go back in the Miro, it automatically logs you in and brings you to that team area.
Yes, and there is the option of downloading the app if you want. You can have actually the program running on your computer as well.
Yeah, Neil has done that.
Good. Yep. Okay. Well, this has been great. Again, we're recording this, so this will be on YouTube, and Larry has been good about doing that. Larry, Neil, and Dee Dee, thank you so much for being willing to be guinea pigs on here. Maybe that's not a very good term. To show us by example what it likes. Steve, thank you for that, for doing this today and for learning. I want to remind you that we're going to get together again next week at the same time, same channel. We're going to kind of put together some of the things we're learning and sum it up, and hopefully you can join us at that time. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do here today. Blessings upon you all. And if there's any other questions, we can continue to talk after we stop the recording.